I just thought of something just now. It got nothing to do with Christmas, nothing to do with wrestling really, but remember back, in the day, I don't know if it was 2017, 2018, 2019, you had the Surviving R. Kelly documentaries. And it was like a deep documentary talking about all the dirt on R. Kelly. Now, we all know R. Kelly had some dirt and, stuff like that. And this was kind of like the first deep, dark dive into like a celebrity like R. Kelly. Then, give it, 2 years after that, you had the Leaving Neverland, documentary, that had a lot of false, unprovable stuff on Michael Jackson.
Take exit.
And then 2025, you have the P. Diddy documentary that 50 Cent did. So now in the last, 5-6 years, you got 3 documentaries on 3 black men in the music industry. And we don't know if any of this stuff is true or, we weren't there. Now, we know about R. Kelly. R. Kelly probably deserves to be in jail. And also, a lot of the parents that were, sending their daughter up there for R. Kelly need to be in jail too. But for the most part, with the R. Kelly situation, I'm going to say 75% of that stuff, it's women over 18 deciding that they just,
half a mile.
It's just them making the choice to stay with a celebrity for money. I mean, they don't want to go work at Walmart. You see what I'm saying? They not trying to go work at Walmart, work at McDonald's, work at Home Depot. They not trying to go to school, get no nursing degree or be a scientist or something like that. No sales representative. They would rather just be R. Kelly's living girlfriend. If R. Kelly got millions, technically they might have millions, or R. Kelly might be giving them an allowance. R. Kelly might be giving them $5-10 grand a month, tax-free, buy what you want. They want that lifestyle. Instead of being a slave to Walmart, they would rather be a slave to R. Kelly. We can't argue with that. Now, all that other stuff with R. Kelly supposedly sleeping with 15-year-olds and doing all that, like, that's wrong. And he's grooming them. That's why he should be in jail. But the sad part about it, R. Kelly isn't in jail for that. R. Kelly is not in jail or prison for sleeping with underage girls. R. Kelly isn't in prison for, molesting young girls. He's not. He should be, though. But that goes back to the parents giving their kids up, basically sacrificing them to R. Kelly. And then you had R. Kelly's entourage going out finding these girls too. Sounds like R. Kelly's like Jeffrey Epstein, trafficking them to himself. Now, you go to Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, I do not believe Michael Jackson slept with any children. Michael Jackson was a victim with a coordinated attack because he pissed off the small hats. He pissed off Sony. He did some good business decisions, but they needed to destroy Michael Jackson. And it's the same thing they was doing to Drake. They came out at Drake and tried to do the PDF thing and trying to destroy him. But Drake is half of a small hat, you know? He's black and Jewish. So I don't think, nothing really happened that dramatic to Drake. Drake didn't get a documentary. Then you got the P. Diddy documentary. Now, the P. Diddy documentary is a little bit different. It doesn't seem like P. Diddy, he doesn't have any underage molestation accusations. It's mainly P. Diddy is a horrible person. The problem is, P. Diddy was cheating, doing some, things, abusing his power and stuff like that. But, man, if P. Diddy is abusing and SAing people and all that, why don't these people come out and say anything when it happens? Why come out years later? Because of money. You could come out and put it on blast with the police and all that, but they want their job. That's basically what it is. It's ridiculous. And I mean, if Cassie's getting beat up and doing all this stuff, she obviously felt it was worth it. Cassie knew what she was doing. She kept coming back. After that hotel footage, Cassie was with Diddy like another 3 years or so. Then you get the city girl. That's his girlfriend. She wasn't on no documentary. She ain't say nothing bad about Diddy. Diddy was giving her like $500K a year to just be his girlfriend and do all that stuff. It's, these grown adult women want this lifestyle. They would rather get, abused, used. Lord knows what they doing in the bedroom. Freak offs with baby oil and all of this stuff. They want to do that. Then go do a 9 to 5. And I don't even want to say a 9 to 5, but they don't want to work where they clock in and work for somebody else. They would rather do a 3-day freak off, once or twice a month and live this billionaire rich lifestyle. And I have to be honest, I think 99% of women would rather do that. You can take a woman that's a teacher, a police officer, a cashier, a woman working in hospitality, a woman working at a daycare, any job where they have to clock in 8, 10, 12-hour shifts and still be broke after they pay all their bills and car note and all that, and don't have but $100 a week to spend on themselves. They would rather do the Diddy freak-offs once or twice a week and get to drive, Benzes, Lamborghinis, these super rich parties, be around celebrities, go to the clubs. 99. And I'm gonna bring that back. I'm gonna bring it down. I'm gonna say for sure minimum 75% of women would rather do that. There is no way a woman is passing up 500, I'm gonna say 20K to 500K like P. Diddy was paying old girl to not do that. I mean, that's just the reality. Like, no one wants to be a slave, a wage slave. No one wants to be that. So if P. Diddy's offering that, they're gonna take it. Same thing with Puff. Michael Jackson is a little bit different. He's not known for that. But, Pharrell and some other people was kind of exposing it, like Michael Jackson had the baddest women in the game. That Debbie Rowe and all of that stuff was just a front. But, no real allegations of abuse and stuff with Michael Jackson. Just a lot of lies and stuff to, break his spirit and all of that. And ruin his reputation. But the P. Diddy and R. Kelly thing, man, a lot of those women wanted that lifestyle. A lot of them wanted that lifestyle. It's a little bit different with P. Diddy. A little bit different with R. Kelly, because he did have a lot of underage stuff at the beginning. But coming to the end, those grown women wanted to live with Diddy. Live with R. Kelly. Same thing with Diddy. Those women love Diddy. They really had nothing bad to say about Diddy. So there's just some food for thought. I'm gonna put this video out just to see what y'all think about it. Like, comment, subscribe. Merry Christmas. It's a weird thought I had for this video, but hope y'all had a great Christmas. I'm working on Christmas. Tired as hell, but we gotta make that money. Peace.